be very, very quiet.
But even if you're as quiet as a church mouse, it doesn't seem to keep you safe and sound in A Quiet Place Part 2. While it certainly pushes the franchise forward in many new ways, it also leaves a lot up in the air. We just have too many darn questions. The good news is, we're hoping to address all the pressing ones, so put on your tinfoil hat and join us as we theorize about the future of A Quiet Place. Will the frequency weapon work? Hooray! The creatures can finally be defeated, all thanks to Reagan's ingenious idea. Or can they? While anyone listening to the radio station can use the frequency to fight off those ugly things, you have to wonder how many people just have radios lying around in the middle of this apocalyptic world. Also, batteries, people. Because on a good day, those power cells don't go on and on like they claim they do. In fact, they die rather quickly. So how are you going to power your radio for weeks, months, or potentially even years? The only true way that the frequency can be effective is if it's used over a PA system. That way, it can keep away the creatures from a decent distance. But there's still a problem here, because you'll need to get close enough to a sound system, at say a football stadium, to do this, which means traversing dangerous grounds and potentially having the monsters chase after you. Look, Reagan's plan is still more than the government has done for these poor people, but it's only the first step in something bigger. Everyone will need to mobilize and come up with a solution to use the frequency to rid themselves of these creatures once and for all. Or they could just make a run for it to the island, but more on that later. Are there more feral people? If we've learned anything from The Walking Dead, it's that people can be nasty when the apocalypse hits. And A Quiet Place Part 2 proved this, as we met a group of feral people who attacked Emmett and Reagan at the marina. While our two favorites made it out in one piece, well, barely, it does make you wonder, are there more of these peeps lurking around the corner? The answer, of course, is yes. It's true that the creatures have pretty much torn their way through society and there aren't many survivors left, but these feral folks look scrappy. They'll stay alive by any means necessary and have probably snacked on a few humans too, making roast out of your eyeballs.
His finger looking good.
Looking like they're straight out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or even Wrong Turn, it wouldn't surprise anyone if they had a whole bunch of brutal traps laid out to capture any other survivors. Also, it is highly unlikely that they'd send out the whole group to take down Emmett and Reagan, so there must be a camp nearby. And what if they saw what happened to their group and how Emmett basically led the creatures to them? Could it mean that a retaliation is on the cards? Because in case you've forgotten, there are still 3 people we know very well stranded on the mainland, and they could be in a world of trouble. Will Evelyn, Marcus, and the baby stay put? Right, so Evelyn, Marcus, and the baby are now safe. Great, but what's next for them? Evelyn sent Emmett to get Reagan, but neither of them is back yet. In fact, they're far across the pond. Well, figuratively. Marcus is aware that this was his sister's endgame from the start, but will he and his mother wait until Emmett and Reagan come back, or will they venture out into the wilderness again? Chances are they will, whether by choice or out of necessity. The hideout is completely destroyed after their encounter with the creature, and they'll need to find a safer and, quieter place to settle in. They don't know what's out there though, including the feral people who could be waiting for their next targets. Evelyn will want Reagan back, no doubt, so there's every chance that she'll try to head towards the marina and find a boat to get across herself. But there could also be more creatures lurking around the dock from the last encounter. So, yeah, they're in about the same amount of danger as previously before, and no move will actually be the right one. Unless Emmett and Reagan go back for them. Look, it must have been some relief for Emmett and Reagan to experience a taste of normality for just a while. And now that they've put an end to the sole creature on the island, they could make many more happy memories. However, there's still something they need to do. You know, get Reagan's mom and siblings. Considering the change in Emmett's personality, it's unlikely that he'll refuse to go back. In fact, you'd say that's pretty much their next course of action. The question is, will the remaining people on the island allow them to go back? Because think about it, they were safe and sound and living happily before Emmett and Reagan unwittingly brought along a creature to cause devastation and death. They might hold the new arrivals responsible for what happened and decide to close off the ports forever. After all, it was home sweet home and kumbaya and all. But now there's a strong possibility that more of those hideous critters could find their way across. They've lost loved ones, so they might not be in the most caring of moods or ready to reason with Emmett and Reagan. Maybe the island could end up becoming a prison instead of a haven. What happens to the kids in the closet? Remember when the man on the island put 2 children inside the closet and told them to keep quiet? Well, has anyone checked on them recently? Besides Emmett and Regan, no one else knows they're there, since the other man died. So what happens to those kids now? Seriously, are they still even in hiding? And are any of their parents around? Those things are definitely worth pondering here, since no one knows what role these kids might play in the future. Say, for example, in A Quiet Place Part 3. If these 2 kids are orphaned now, they will need someone to step up and look after them. Perhaps this could be Emmett's role. He's still devastated by the loss of his family, but his greater purpose might be to become a father figure to other children who really need him the most. Unless, of course, these kids will just be a massive plot hole and everyone will be wondering if they're still hiding away decades from now. But their existence does make you wonder about something else, a question that everyone was asking themselves while watching A Quiet Place Part 2. How long can the island actually last? All good things must come to an end, right? Well, that's exactly the fate that this paradise island could suffer before too long. While this little piece of heaven appears self-sustaining and far removed from the horrors of the mainland, it's only a matter of time until things go south. Come on, you were thinking the exact same thing. Whether it's an infiltration of more creatures or the humans turning on each other, you just know that there's no way this utopia will last in the long run. Where's the evidence of this claim, you may ask? Again, just look at The Walking Dead as an example. Every time someone finds a really good spot and everyone is as happy as pigs in mud, someone inevitably screws up and brings everything tumbling down in a big way.
Oopsie doopsie, I muffed it up again!
What we do expect to see, though, is the island becoming a central point of the conflict. Its isolation might be its biggest strength in the context of things, but it could also be the greatest weakness. Imagine being stranded there, without a boat, food, or anywhere else to go, and there are monsters circling around, readying to strike if you make a peep. Where do you go? And what do you do? Well, that depends on... Will we get a 3rd movie? A Quiet Place Part 2 doesn't end on a conclusive note. The credits actually surprise you, as you know there's more to be told and explored in this world. The good news is, it's already been announced that there's a prequel in the works. But what about a sequel? Well, Emily Blunt says that John Krasinski's original plan is for a trilogy. She told Collider, "He has a whole arc of ideas that could work. I think he just wanted to see how people responded to this one before he fully engaged his brain on the 3rd one. But he has a couple of great ideas." Considering how the latest movie picked up right after the last one, the 3rd film is likely to do the same. It makes sense though, especially because of all the questions we still have about the series. So far, the film seems to be doing pretty well at the box office and receiving really good critical and fan reception. So the chances are high that a sequel will be announced in no time. But as we know, nothing in this life is ever promised.
Deal with it.
As long as we get some answers to our burning questions, we'll be satisfied. Promise. You might need to be silent to watch A Quiet Place, but you don't have to hold it in while you laugh at the Big Bang Theory's funniest unscripted moments. While you're having a good time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for some more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.